of respect for those who arrive on time. We've tried to maintain throughout this festival. We are on to our 8th program to ensure that everything happens relatively on time and people aren't given this inordinate wait before they get to hear people. Because you're here, I'll start off with a few important things. Firstly, we are all under battle fatigue. Battle fatigue because is a concentrated series of programs climaxing with March the 7th at the Mohatta Festival of the Arts, the 25-year celebration of the lecture series, but of course, as you know, subsequently created into the lecture come music series. The programs still left. There's Satvik today, which I hope will be as engaging for you as I found him myself. The next program is on the 19th, and I can only promise you with Nahid Asfar at the Balochistan Nama, where she speaks about Baloch embroideries, but she speaks about Baloch tribes, Baloch history, the Khanat of Kalat, the whole last 400 years, and she does so with a passion. The visual material is so powerful that I can promise you that 90% of you, including Mr. Akbar Zaidi from the IBA, my close friend, will never have seen most of those images. So that's on Monday. It's very powerful. I hope people are going to be more punctual than today. A record 355 people have made advance reservations today, which is a record for a non-Abda Parveen concert at Mohatta. So it shows the festival has been received in the spirit. It was proffered to the Karachiites in. So on the 19th, which is Monday, there's Nahid Asfar. On the 22nd, which I suspect is a Thursday, is A Tale of Two Cities, Uch and Multan. And we have a remarkable series of speakers up there. I can promise you it's not been done before in Pakistan. There are the two great stalwarts of the National College of Arts Uch project. The first is the great architect Yasmin Chima, and the second is the equally great architect Tanveer Hassan from London, who is flying in specially for the session. Also at this session is Hassan Ali Khan. Hassan Ali Khan is the son of Masuma Hassan and Arif Hassan's nephew. His book on the Suravardi order in Multan in the 14th century, published by the Cambridge University Press 2 years ago, is a masterpiece of its own kind. So those three on Uch and Multan should provide you perspectives that you haven't heard before. In the tradition of music, just like after Nahid Jafri, we have the famous Bravi Bard, Akhtar Chanal Zahiri, entertaining you with a half-an-hour recital. After the Multan Uch program, we will have Ado Fakir from Rahim Yar Khan in Cholistan, who will give you glimpses of the Sindhi Multani Kafi in concert in a half-an-hour recital. Similarly, the program after that, this program, you don't really know. This program is on the 27th. What day is the 27th, Saima? Tuesday. This one has not been publicized, and the invitations and the notifications will begin to go out tomorrow. It is, the exact title, Saima? It's good for you to hide behind the speaker because the people will not know your public shame. Well, nevertheless, I'll improvise for you. Yes. And there's something else after that. But Jahangir and Nur Jahan, the architectural legacy of power. Mehreen Chidda Razvi from the School of Oriental African Studies in London is to fly in courtesy of Razi Ahmed and the Lahore Literary Festival. She's not speaking on this topic in Lahore, she's speaking on something else, but she's flying down to Karachi to spend an evening with you. And any Mughal evening, as Maniza Shamsi will tell you, is filled with problems in presentation, and we hope to gain your interest. Please come and welcome her on the 27th, and you can hear her wonderful, she is one of Europe's leading experts on Jahangir and Nur Jahan. So that is on the 27th. On the 1st is Saima Zaidi herself hiding behind the speaker, with Durya Kazi, who's somewhere in front. They will be speaking on the vocabulary of the vernacular image in Mazar Bazaar, something that Saima did in her first book. Durya is a first-rate person as well in this matter, like Saima is, and they're going to head into, if not towards, the second volume of Mazar Bazaar, which is due soon, but it will be inevitably, I think, colored and shaped by Durya's analysis of Saima's vision and their cross interaction. So I needn't point out for Amber Khairi, who's here from London today, that this is a very gender positive program. Nahid Asfar, and followed by Tanveer Yasmin Chima, with Merin Chida Rizvi, with Durya, with Abda Parveen closing it up. So, frankly, at the risk of offending you, if I had a bra, I'd burn it, because this is a clear outward statement of pro-gender feminism. So, only because women are more intelligent in this country than men, but I hope the men will take that in good grace. So these are the programs in Mohatta, and unfortunately, we cannot give you those customary 3 or 4 days to recover. So for each and every one of them, please do attend, and I'm going to move from there to what we're doing here tonight. Tonight's program is Satvik Mohatta. Satvik, I think you and Saima should come and sit down without any further ado. Otherwise, people will be wondering whether in Marwari tradition, Satvik too is wearing a veil like Mai Dhai will do afterwards. So Satvik is a wonderful person. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the hero Mohatta of tonight. I will introduce you to him later. But this is Satvik, who with his wife Andrea and their children, that is Maya, Avik, and Tara, have flown in to Karachi. For the first time, a representative of the Mohatta family comes in after that deep and raw partition to look at their family home. So welcome home. Sri Ratan Mohatta was a great figure in Karachi, not only for the Hindu community. You not only enjoy his Mohatta Palace, you also enjoy the Sri Ratan Mohatta Hindu Gymkhana, which is now Napa. Mm-hmm. So his legacy of Indo-Saracenic art was not confined to Karachi alone, and not to the Mohatta Palace alone, because the Maharaja of Jodhpur, as he will tell you himself, that sky plane, which used to stop over at Karachi, had many passengers from Karachi. Remember, we used to be called Midway House, midway between Singapore and Europe. That sky plane would mean that Mohatta Palace served as the temporary residence for many Maharajas, including the Maharaja of Jodhpur. And Satvik's great-grandfather helped the Maharaja of Jodhpur to construct the Umeed Bhavan. So tonight, the visible ambassador, along with his family of the Mohatta tradition, is not angry that he does not own this house anymore. He's happy when he saw 300 underprivileged students coming here yesterday for the Jinnah Museum, for the Jinnah exhibition from Korangi, and he's been able to witness the living legacy of the Mohatta Palace Museum today. So I'll come to the last part of what I have to say, and that is that following Satvik, Mai Dhai will come and sing for him. She was last in this museum when Jaswant Singh, the former late Foreign Secretary, came to launch his book on Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And Mai Dhai sang for him the official languages for the musical part of this evening. I wouldn't trust it for the verbal communication part, since we don't really know how good Satvik's Marwari is. But the music will be Marwari and Sindhi music, and Mai Dhai is a consummate expert herself. She will welcome him in the sweet language of the Thar, of Marwar, and of Chodistan. So that's the second part of the program. Now I want you to think back. I want you to think back in those early years after Mohatta Palace had been finished in the 1920s. We didn't have quite so many people who'd been allotted or bought land all this way. There were, if you remember from your childhood, Faiza, the empty sand dunes, what only I think our friend, the mangrove expert, would have enjoyed, the different kinds of vegetation growing on it, but it was still a very lonely and open path. One of the reasons it wasn't constructed upon was, as Satvik will tell you, that there was a tunnel underneath it going to the Shiv Mandir in Clifton. But the Jahangir Kothari parade, a little while into the 20s and in the early 30s, must have begun. Mr. Shivratan Mohatta, who made this palace, could stand on his roof. He could see Clifton, and at night he could see those phosphorescent phytoplankton waves light up, something that Tariq Kaisar enjoys doing in the mangrove delta. So it was polo. We don't know where the polo was. It might have been the Clifton Park. It might have been Old Clifton itself. We don't know. But there was a swimming pool in the house. He lived his life. He and his family loved Karachi. When they left in 1947, and I think after 48, Shivratan Mohatta did not return. It became a family legend. And then different members of the family tried to come over. And Satvik was the one who proved lucky. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Satvik Mohatta, and Saima Zaidi will speak to you.
Thank you. Salam, greetings, gratitude. Our gratitude is always to each one of you for helping us commemorate 25 years of the Mohatta Palace Museum. I'm Saima Zaidi, additional curator here. Welcome. Welcome to our distinguished lecture series. This is our 8th event, as Mr. Harun said, and it's the memories of a scion of the Mohatta family. By, of course, Satvik Mohatta, the great-grandson of Rao Shivratan Mohatta, Rao Bahadur Shivratan Mohatta. This is an extremely auspicious, in fact, a heartwarming occasion to have Satvik, his wife, Andrea, and the 3 rather delightful children who are not looking very delightful about being talked about right now, but Maya, Avik, and of course, Tara. Thank you so much for being with us. His presentation and a conversation thereafter will be followed by the inimitable Mai Dhai. Satvik, आपका स्वागत है. Thank you.
Thank you for the warm welcome, and great to see everyone. What a fantastic turnout. So, good evening, salam, and namaste. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. And there are probably 3 things I was going to talk about today. First, what it means for me to be here in Karachi at Mohatta Palace. I was then going to share some history about my family and some stories I've heard from them about the palace. And finally, I was going to express my gratitude. So let me start with being here. You know, it's a privilege to be in Pakistan, to be here, to be able to reconnect with my roots in the land of my ancestors. As Arunji said, you know, I'm probably the first Mohatta to come here partition ke baad. I mean, 80 saal ho gaye. And from the Mohatta family, I'm lucky I'm pehla sadasya aaya hu, but I'm representing the family. And we've just been overwhelmed with the hospitality and kindness we have received. I mean, ऐसी खातिरदारी हुई है कि कोई अरसों बाद घर आ रहा है. And I'm really touched, really touched. It's been a true homecoming in various respects. And then at the Mohatta Palace, a place of such ancestral significance, an opportunity for me to honor my heritage. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I mean, it's truly been a privilege and an honor, and thank you so much for having me here. So let me start with what the Mohatta Palace meant to me. आप ये जो तस्वीर देख रहे हो, this is all I've seen of Mohatta Palace growing up as a kid. My grandfather had this picture in our house in Bombay, and he had a copy in his office as well. This was his first home, a place where he was very happy, always cherished, and would always remember. So we had this picture of the palace, which always reminded us of where we came. And मैं बचपन में मेरे दादा और दादी जी के साथ सोया करता था, as many of us did. And we used to go to sleep that time hearing bedtime stories. And हमारे यहाँ ये होता था, I used to tell दादाजी कि मुझे कराची की कहानियाँ सुनाओ आप. Tell me about the Mohatta Palace. And I can still remember him. He used to pause, he would smile, he would say, वो दिन थे. And he would reminisce about those days in Karachi. And he would speak about the splendor, the lifestyle. He spoke about the food they ate, the utensils, the bartans, the furniture, the sports they had. I think polo fields that Harunji mentioned. There were a lot of cricket tournaments there, I believe. I think he was very active in cricket. He spoke about horses, peacocks, and he spoke about all his vintage cars. He had a taste for these things. I think Cadillacs, Bugattis, you mentioned them, And as a child, I was just imagining कि हम लोग यहाँ अभी 5 bedroom के घर में रह रहे हैं 10 जन. And he's talking about a palace और ये गाड़ियाँ और ये मतलब उस समय इंटरनेट भी नहीं था. So nowhere you could research. And all I had this photograph which you should try to bring to life. And you should ask him ये कमरे में क्या था, ये किसका था, यहाँ पे क्या होता था. And he would explain me everything peacefully. The thing used to happen is that I wouldn't go to sleep. I would get more and more inquisitive, asking him more questions. So my grandmother would take over and then put me to sleep in the traditional manner. But I've been hearing stories since I've been growing up about the palace. And that's why it's great coming here. It's hard to put into words. I'll share some pictures of my family. So this is a picture of the extended Mohatta family taken at Mohatta Palace, I believe. Now, in the Mohatta Palace, you have my grandfather who's probably standing on the far right side, his elder brother who's on the far right side, my great-grandfather who's seated. They used to live here. So I think there were, 10 people who used to live here, and then the extended family used to visit on various occasions. So this is one such instance where they've all gathered, which we've been able to capture in a picture. And one gentleman I want to point out, as Harunji mentioned, is Sri Ram Gopal Mohatta. He's the one seated near my great-grandfather. And both brothers were very close. They worked together. बहुत ही गहरा रिश्ता था. And he also stayed in Karachi for a few years. And then partition के कुछ साल पहले, he moved to Bikaner. We are originally from Bikaner, but our business and establishment grew when we came to Karachi. So but we did spend a lot of time in Karachi and had fond memories. This is a really unique picture that we were able to find of the whole family in Mohatta Palace. If I move on, that's my great-grandfather, Sri Rao Bahadur Shivratanji Mohatta. So he was conferred the title of Rao Bahadur, which was given by the government in those days for people who provided exemplary service or did acts of public welfare. And his father, Sri Govardhan Das ji, also was a Rao Bahadur. So this has been in the blood. And the stories I've heard about him, he was an astute businessman, proficient in languages. He started various industries. And it was his dream to have a palatial home, to build something. And he was able to accomplish that. And he built the Mohatta Palace in the late 1920s. He engaged, I think, the architect Aga Saab at those times. And I believe the Mohatta Palace in those days took around 7 lakhs to build. But, it's truly a legacy. I unfortunately never met him. He passed away before I was born. But every time I mention his name or hear stories about him, there's a lot of respect and admiration in people's eyes, for which I'm always very grateful and humble. And that's my great-grandmother, Srimati Saraswati Mohatta. She then resided in Indore post-partition, and I did meet her, spend a few years with her. She was also very philanthropic in nature. And today in Indore, also the house where she stayed is a famous landmark. She was called Ma Saab, or we used to call her Badi Ma. And we used to actually call my great-grandfather Muchi Baba because of his mustaches. So those are the names we used to have for our ancestors. But I was, very fortunate to have such loving great-grandparents. And then if I move on, He's the one who brought the palace to life for me, my grandfather. Sri Sudarsratan Mohatta. And, I think post-partition, he was the one who was really responsible or worked hard to help us reestablish ourselves in India. And he's always had very fond memories of the palace. He did carry forward some of his tastes over here. So when he went back to India, he did like wildlife. So he started, a private zoo, which started with cockatoos, macaws. Then we had leopards, chimpanzees. So somehow he did maintain some of those, fine tastes, cultural habits he picked up. But he worked very hard and to help the family reestablish themselves. And, he's the one who's really started bringing Mohatta Palace to life for me, or telling me stories about the life over here. And my grandmother, Ratan Devi Mohatta, she was again very philanthropic. She helped establish the Rajasthani Mahila Mandal, which is a welfare organization in India today, looks at the welfare of women. And she was the one who was always used to, spoil me because I was the eldest grandchild, but also made sure I had the right values in life. So again, we are very privileged that we stayed together. We were very close, and I could spend a lot of time with my grandparents. And if I move on to my parents, that's my mother, Shobha Devi Mohatta. She lives in Bombay today with my younger brother. I have a sister as well who's in Auckland, and I'm in London. So we are kind of spread all across the globe, but we are very, very close as a family. And my mother's continuing the work my grandmother did with the Rajasthani Mahila Mandal. And today, whatever we are as a family, it's because of the upbringing I got from my parents, grandparents. And for me, my father really meant a lot. He was someone I always looked up to, always wanted to emulate. He unfortunately passed away 15 months ago. And it was his dream to visit the Mohatta Palace. Arunji mentioned a few attempts had been made to come here, and my father tried on a number of occasions. And in fact, COVID ke pehle, he was going to come, and then COVID came, so he couldn't make it. And, for me to be here and to fulfill his wish, I can't even tell you the emotions I'm going through. So it really is a special moment. And we will hear a little bit from my father a little bit later. He actually done an interview for one of the news channels where he spoke about the Mohatta Palace. And I'm going to actually bring to life now some of the anecdotes he shared and some interesting facts. So what I've been told is that Mohatta Palace in those days was visited by a lot of dignitaries, prominent personalities, members from the Congress. Jinnah ji stayed here, Nehru ji. गांधी जी इनफैक्ट बीन टोल्ड कि 15 दिन तक यहाँ पे रुके थे लगातार. एंड इनके लिए जब वो आते थे तो पूरी अपहोल्स्ट्री खादी की बदली जाती थी. Now, the reason Mohatta Palace probably became very famous as a place to stop is because those days in Karachi, I believe there used to be a seaplane service, or as my father used to refer to it as a flying boat, which could take passengers quickly to Europe or the Far East. So you could either go by the old liner or you avail the seaplane. So it became a very popular spot. Ki aap Karachi aao, you stay at the Mohatta Palace and then avail of the seaplane, the next day or a couple of days later. And that's how a lot of dignitaries came here. One thing I'm going to probably digress a bit and share about is because I've learned in my last 2 days in Karachi that food is very famous over here. So one incident about food, we also had a caretaker, who moved with us to India. And he used to make this famous bread pudding, which he said was loved by all the dignitaries. It was a simple, creation of jam, custard, bread, but he never shared the recipe. We should tell him कि भाई हमको जब कराची की bread pudding दो, तो he used to make it. But he claims it was a very popular dish, served in Karachi. So all the dignitaries enjoyed that. And actually, one of the dignitaries who visited the palace was Sri Umed Singh ji from Jodhpur. And he really liked the palace, and he fell in love with it. And he then requested my great-grandfather to help construct something similar in Jodhpur. And that's how the Umed Bhawan came. So Umed Bhawan still exists today. It's a prominent hotel. You can see a picture there. Even in the Umed Bhawan, they've got a picture of the team that did the construction. My grandfather's photos there. You could see that he's seated in the front row. And incidentally, yesterday when I was taking a tour of the palace, I noticed we have an underground swimming pool, and a similar underground swimming pool is there in Jodhpur. It's an amazing similarity, which also shows about the common construction elements that were created. But that's not the only common structure we have between India and Pakistan today. This is another famous market. So Mohatta cloth market. Now इसकी कहानी ये है, I've told कि कराची में भी एक Mohatta market हुआ करता था, which was used by the Sindhi community to trade. एंड फिर पार्टीशन के बाद क्या हुआ, लॉट द सिंधी कम्युनिटी ऑल्सो माइग्रेटेड विद अस टू इंडिया, एंड वहाँ पहुँचने के बाद, सेटल होने के बाद, they requested my grandfather to build something similar for them. So that's how the Motta cloth market in Bombay was established. It still exists today in Baikala. तो उसकी एक तस्वीर है यहाँ पे. It's very interesting. And then one other building worth mentioning is, when we were leaving partition के बाद, there were talks कि शायद हमको Motta Palace की exchange में शायद Jinnah House मिलेगा. That never materialized. Jinnah House still exists today in Bombay, but it is it is not well maintained. मैं अभी compare करता हूँ Motta Palace and Jinnah House, there's a stark difference, which is a shame, because it's by maintaining such cultural properties can we ensure that partition as an event is remembered. But this property still exists today, not in the best of states though, unfortunately. Now the other thing I was always used to ask my grandfather about is कि ठीक है आप कराची से आए तो did you carry anything with you? Did you get any artifacts, anything I can look at? So I'll probably share. Oops, sorry. So this is an interesting story. It looks like it's 2 chandeliers, but actually this used to be 1 chandelier. Now, I don't know why they decided to carry a chandelier in those days from here all the way to India. I don't know how it made the journey. Plane, train, kaise bhi karke, it reached there unscathed, which itself is a miracle. अच्छा, फिर इसको जब भी मैंने लगाने की बारी आई, सो द आर्किटेक्ट सेड कि भाई आपकी पूरी छत गिर जाएगी, इसका वजन इतना है, तो आई रियली कांट हैंग इट अप. एंड तो फिर डिस्कशन हुआ कि क्या करें. ही सेड लुक, यू हैव टू स्प्लिट इट इनटू 2 एंड देन यू पुट देम अ डिस्टेंस अपार्ट. सो देयर वाज अ बिग डिबेट कि सच अ हेयरलूम फॉर अस, हाउ कैन यू इवन थिंक ऑफ ब्रेकिंग इट 2, कोई करेगा, खराब हो जाएगा, क्या होएगा. विद गॉड्स ग्रेस somehow we were able to split it into 2, and it's still there today. It's in a house in Khandara, providing us light. It's one original construction piece we managed to get from here. So my dadaji said, chandelier le aaya na, dekh itti, and I managed it over here. It's providing light and continue doing so to our family. And another interesting heirlooms we have is I've got passports of my great grandfather and grandfather from the British Raj times. This is Shivratanji Motta's passport, and then this is my grandfather's passport. And I've realized, यहाँ पे last 2 दिन से, there's a lot that I can learn from Karachi even further, because there's so much of history that even I'm not aware about, what the families did, the Hindu community, and there's a lot that I can even share with our journey post-partition. So just we can make sure that the events are correctly documented and maintained. But there's some very interesting heirlooms we managed to keep. And finally, I wanted to show you this picture. So you remember the first slide I shared with you, the black and white photo. You can see that on the left. That's in our Bombay office, a picture of the Motta Palace. And we're so accustomed to seeing it everywhere we go. Any new property we buy, everyone says, Motta Palace ki picture kahan lagaoge aap? So when we were moving to London, and my kids have also heard about the palace, and they heard it from my father. So their grandfather, like how I heard it from my grandfather. So that time we said, kya kare? We couldn't actually take another photograph because we tried clicking a picture but didn't come out all that well. And we wanted something that would be authentic and remind us. So us time to internet aa gaya tha, you were getting better images. But my children said, we want a similar photograph. So we actually had an artist draw a painting for us to just replicate it in the best way possible. So this is the picture we have at our house in London. And my children have grown up seeing, and I'm so happy to be able to get them over here today. And last 2 days I was mentioning, it's been a learning curve for me also. Today I managed to visit the Hindu Gymkhana. And I was very fortunate. I saw Junaidji over there. He might be here in the audience today, but I managed to run to him and see the Hindu Gymkhana, which is another building that we had constructed. It's known as the Ram Gopal Govardhan Das Motta Hindu Gym. And just interacting with people today, it's been very heartwarming. I didn't realize हमारी family company अभी यार Herman Motta, people have mentioned that name. It's still today. My father used to manage it. Now my brother is running it. And I think the love, gratitude, and affection I've got from everyone over here, it's been overwhelming. It's been very hard to describe. And which brings me to the last part, to express gratitude. And how do I even start? Where do I even start from? I had seen pictures of the palace. I'd seen videos, I'd seen documentaries. But the emotions I felt when I walked through that gate and entered and touched the steps and entered the palace, you can't put that into words. The feeling that someone gets. I saw my children really excited. Keep seeing the Mohatta Palace. And this is what this event has done. Just like me, there must be so many people on both sides of the border wanting to learn about their ancestral roots, so many stories. And that's why I think it's initiatives like these that they bridge our geographical divide. They remind us of our intertwined histories and shared experiences, and they bring us closer. So we've just been really overwhelmed with the love and gratitude we've got. And there are a few people I need to thank because this trip wouldn't have been possible otherwise. I mean, start with Hamid Harunji. I think met him only yesterday, but we share a very strong bond already, which we will continue to nurture. I think the trustees, Hamid Akunji, Tawfiq Chinoy, and the director of the museum, Mrs. Naskari, ने क्या ख्याल रखा है जगह का. ऐसा तो कोई अपने घर का नहीं रखता है. I mean, I sent pictures to my family. I was like, what, this is the museum? This is how well it's maintained? Yeah. Thanks to him, ji. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, Hello. Yeah.
My late mother had seen Mr. Mohatta because he used to come out every morning and take a round of Clifton. And she used to tell me that his bhaiya would be at the back with a stick, big danda, and he would walk, going out to Old Clifton and coming back. And my mother sang in this Mohatta
Oh, lovely, ji.
in 1932.
Wow.
What was his name? Sorry. Bare Ghulam Ali Khan.
Ghulam Ali Khan, yes, ji. Yeah, I think it's to people of Karachi in general,
The ceremony was done in 1932. It was built by 1927.
Correct, absolutely.
And all these stones came in bullock carts from Jodhpur. And my mother said that
After the presentation, Satvik will answer questions and have discussions with you, so you will be able to share your views with him.
okay.
Yeah, thank you. But you're right about the dates and some of the history, so it'll be very good to have a chat. But I think, overall, and then finally, Sema ji, how can I forget? मेरी Sema ji से 6 महीने पहले बात हुई थी, where we connected on social media. And we even spoke about somehow coming here and putting this together. And there were 3 of us involved. My bua, my father's younger sister, Anjali Junjunwala, who wanted to come here today, and I will bring her back someday. We've been working on this project of somehow getting a Mohatta over here and seeing the museum. And finally to the people of Karachi, I mean, jisko pucho, they have a fond memory of the Mohattas, or they met someone. And it's really overwhelming, and really thankful for all the love and affection you've shown for my family, for my ancestors, for this place, for retaining the Mohatta name in particular. That's something my family and I will always be grateful for. और आपने इसी बढ़िया तरीके से जगह को maintain किया है. We're all very humbled and privileged. This has been a homecoming in the truest sense, and as I say, it's probably the first of many visits. And thank you, Ture, for attending and listening to me. Have a good evening. Shukriya.
Could you introduce the video?
Yeah, should we play it now?
Basically, let me tell you, our family belongs to Bikaner,
Sorry,
which is a part of the Marwar district in Rajasthan. And my great-grandfather had a small business in Karachi, mainly from what I believe concerning textiles. And they were very humble beginnings, and my grandfather, while in Karachi, started growing the business and was very, very successful. Some of the businesses which he earned a very big name and a lot of wealth was construction, he had sugar industries, and since we were in the construction business and we had large projects which we made for the erstwhile British government, he always had a dream, from what I understand from my father, to build a big house, a sort of a landmark. And Karachi was, of course, in those days a very pleasant place to be in, and he decided that he would make it his family headquarters. So by the sea, Clifton was the area, and we built that house somewhere in the 1910s or 1920s. And from what I gather, in those days, it cost a princely sum of about 7 lakhs of rupees to build. It took also about 7 or 8 years to complete the whole building. This is the information which I have from word of mouth of my elders and of my.
Any idea how old your grandfather was when he?
Well, grandfather was would be around in his middle 40s, I would say. That's when the construction would have started, because he was born in 1888, and so this house would have been completed somewhere in 1920 or 25. It would be around 40 years. After that, my grandfather was involved also in building other palaces and buildings, some of them in India, like the Umaid Bhavan in Jodhpur.
He built Umaid Bhavan and
Yes, as a matter of fact, Mohatta Palace was regularly frequented by the royalty, and also, of course, the Indian National Congress, including Jawaharlal ji and Mr. Jinnah and even Mahatma Gandhi ji. So, my grandfather did have a big presence there as far as politics and social life was concerned. He was also granted the title of Rao Bahadur those days. So probably during one of these interactions with the Maharajas, who used to frequent Karachi to catch the flying boat, so as to say, for their travels into Europe or wherever. They used to camp at Mohatta Palace for a day or two before carrying on with their journey. So those days, I think Maharaj Umaid Singh ji of Jodhpur, after seeing the palace, decided to have one built in Jodhpur. And that's how grandfather did get involved in the building of.
tell us a little bit about this flying boat. What was that?
Well, it was a seaplane service, which otherwise I believe if one had to travel to Europe, the only way was to go by a liner, which would be probably out of Bombay or even maybe out of Karachi. But the seaplane or the flying boat started in Karachi, which was a quicker way of travel. So all the.
Flying boat, you mean to take off from a ship?
No, it was a seaplane.
It was a seaplane.
It was, yeah, from what I understand, it would be a seaplane. It probably took off from Karachi Harbour, from the harbour. Yeah. So the princess would use that media to go. That was one of the reasons it became a camping point also. Apart from that, you see, grandfather had an elder brother who was, as I said earlier, we come from Bikaner. So he used to also spend a lot of time in Bikaner with my grandfather, the elder grandfather. And but we had no presence. We had no presence at that time in Bombay. We had our all our interests were in Pakistan territory. We had some small interests in Ahmedabad and in Indore, which later on, after partition, when my grandfather came back, we sort of revived them and expanded on our base as a family from those assets.
So he built this wonderful house. So who lived in it?
Well, my grandfather, my grandmother, my uncle. I have two uncles. One uncle stayed there, and my father and mother. I was unfortunately not born there. So
And your father was born in this house?
Oh yes, he was born in Karachi, in Mohatta Palace.
What
Yes,
was his name?
Suraj Ratan,
And your grandfather's name?
Shiv Ratan Mohatta.
So your father was born in that.
Yes.
And he lived there till he was how old?
Well, he was about 30, 35 years old, and in 47, after the partition, of course, he shifted here. He was born in 24, I think about, yes, 32, 33 years of age.
Any stories that anybody's told you that you remember, like surrounding the house before partition, and that anything happened there?
Well, I've heard only all the pleasant stories about our lavish and royal lifestyle. And well, my father, my uncle, and all of them lived a very princely life. They had a stable of horses, a host of all the best cars one could imagine, whether it is Bugatti or the Caddy or the. My father was very fond of the good things in life, and he did indulge in all his hobbies and passions over there. Apart from that, Mata Palace had its own swimming pool, which was underground, which it had its own polo field.
Really?
Yes, and father and all used to play a lot of cricket. They used to have the pentacular matches there between the Parsis and the Muslims and the Hindus, and so it was a quite a sports-oriented life, I would say, during his younger days. And yes, Mata Palace, we were told that it was requisitioned also once by the Allied forces during the war, whether it was the Burma War, I would not remember truly. So at that point of time, for a year or two, the entire family moved out of Mata Palace. We had to rent some other place, houses in Naya Bandar, the locality was from what I was told. We shifted there. And there was an interesting anecdote which my mother told me sometimes, that after the house was handed over, Mata Palace was given back to us after the requisition. There were sightings of a ghost in Mata Palace, dressed as a army man, and he would walk down the stairs. So of course, this is all more of stories, but something connected to the palace which I thought I would share with you.
Come down.
Satvik, can you keep standing there, please? Uh, just a couple of comments and then a follow up. One of the comments is that for those of you who wondered about the seaplane, you still know that KLM, which is to run a regular service from Amsterdam to Singapore and on to Australia, Karachi was midway point between Amsterdam and Singapore. So the KLM hostelry was called Midway House. So that you will probably remember. The second point I wanted to bring to you, that Satvik is all in all somebody who never saw the Mohatta Palace or experienced it as a child. But I have three astounding children here who have experienced returning to their family home. As Saima Zaidi tells me, after picking up Satvik from the airport, the moment it became daylight as they reached Clifton, and of course there was no Clifton Island, there was no causeway which went to Clifton Island, but the moment they came here, the first thing that the family did was to come to a closed Mohatta Palace with the gates closed, and kept on peering in through the bars and reliving their family history. So, Andrea, you are as major a force in the Mohatta family as Satvik is. Could I have you? Could I have
Just a second.
Maya?
We do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I will go back to questions after that. Maya, little Avik, and of course, the dynamo of the family, Tara. Could you please come up on stage? There's a reason for this. Come from here. There's a reason for this because, unlike his father, little Avik, who will carry the Mohatta name forward, has the experience of the Mohatta family and the Mohatta palace in his blood. I would like to give a memento from the trustees, from the director Nasreen Askari, and from Saima Zaidi, and all of us, including you, to little Abid.
I really appreciate being here, and I love Karachi and how wonderful it is.
Well done, you're a star. We'll give it to you right afterwards. Now, if you leave the floor, Andrea, please come and say something.
Me?
Yes.
Oh God.
You
Okay.
may be German, but you're a German Mohatta.
That is true. So I am not a born and bred Mohatta, and it may sound really weird, but I came through these gates and I saw my husband's face, and it was just overwhelming. It really feels like coming home. Actually, the moment we stepped out of the airport, I felt like we're back in Bombay. I've lived there for 6 years, and it's the smell, it's the hustle bustle, it's everything. It felt like coming home, and then coming into this house, to me it doesn't feel like a museum. It really feels like part of our family. It's so strange, I can't explain it, but how everyone will confirm, I just kept on chewing everyone's brains yesterday with questions over questions, and Seema had to drag me out of the museum at 6 o'clock because they were closing. I'm coming back tomorrow as well because I just can't get enough. I can't take in enough. And I've taken hundreds of pictures for everyone back home in India. They're all very jealous of us being here tonight. And I try to bring back as much as we can from here. We're just really eternally grateful. This is an experience we will cherish all our lives.
Andrea and
Thank you.
Satvik, when you came here yesterday, on your first long visit to the museum, you saw the Jinnah exhibition and the Gaj exhibition, and you had a bit of an exhilarating experience as you walked up to the roof of Mohatta Palace before you went to the basement and saw the pool. You were at the Barsati, where the Mohattas would stand and listen to music and sit down and watch the evenings and the sea come in. So there at that time, unfortunately, two convoys of school children from underprivileged schools in Korangi. Nasreen Askari, the director of the museum, has launched that program during the Karachi Under the Raj, and that continues. And huge hordes of school children come to see major exhibitions, including the Jinnah exhibition. Did you feel uncomfortable with 300 people in the museum and the house taking over, citizens of Karachi, citizens of tomorrow, enjoying the museum as if it was their own?
Not at all. I can't think of a better use for the museum. More children, the better. What a wonderful exhibition of how such a property is being used today to maintain the culture. And so I can't think of a better use. And it was really humbling and honored to see so many children coming in, looking at the palace, learning about some history. No better way to put it. So really well done, sir.
Okay, Andrea and Tara, Avik, and Maya. You can sit down because now Satvik is going to field some questions from the audience. Thank you so much for coming. And a big hand to the children and to Andrea for coming to Karachi with Satvik.
Hello. Can we have this mic on, please?
This one is on.
Okay, I think you can hear me with the back. Great. So
Clearer, a bit clearer.
a bit clearer, I'm told. The most important thing, all the important questions that I had to ask have already been asked. So I'll just ask one or two. One would be, well, firstly, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think a lot of us here went down a memory lane, thanks to you. And also sharing your and your father's and grandfather's memories. And each one of us has associations with this landmark. And in our conversations earlier in the last 6 months, back and forth, and Anjali ji, we miss you. We truly miss you, Bua. And one day she shall be with us. Having said that, I'd like to also mention that, I also have a personal story on this one, because my grandfather, maternal grandfather, he actually worked in the Foreign Office here. So we all have something to. This Mohatta Palace has given us so much, and your family, and has contributed to Karachi in such a major way. And also, I remember, and a lot of us must have done this and had this adventure of coming here in the 90s. I would come with my friends and cousins, and this was a derelict space. And it was like this adventure. We'd be running around the rooms, playing hide and seek, enjoying the idea of being in a haunted house, which the ghosts that you mentioned, but we never came across any, by the way. But having again, and again, what I would also bring to your attention is that a lot of us have experienced this through bringing, like I bring my undergraduate students since post 2000, and for the numerous outstanding exhibitions that are held here. So I think I'm glad that you shared that story, and I'm sure that a lot of you would have a lot to add to that. And thank you for having added to our collective memory. I have only one question before we move on, although this has probably been answered. But I'd like to draw your attention to F.S. Ejazuddin's article in The Dawn that was in January '04. And in fact, he was one of our distinguished speakers for the Hamzanama last month. And he discusses the conversion of palaces and mansions into museums. And I quote, and there are only three sentences actually. Many royal residences in India have undergone a similar conversion. In Jaipur, the city palace houses the Maharaja Savai Man Singh's museum, and then the Maharaja Jaipur's Delhi residence is now the National Gallery of Modern Art. So again, I think it is just in one sentence, could you tell us what did you really truly experience and feel when you were here yesterday and today? And also the Hindu Jumkhana.
So for me, the picture I had of Mohatta Palace, the black and white image that I'd seen growing up, it just got filled with color. And I can't describe that in words. It's become a colorful memory, a very pleasant memory, and something I'll always cherish. And Karachi is always going to have a special place in my heart. So thank you so much, everyone.
Just a couple of business announcements, and then Satvik will take questions from the audience. There are ways in which the Mohatta family wants to start feeling relevant to the museum. And Satvik has already started with them. His first request to Saima, which was conveyed to me, was after his departure, he would like a dinner hosted on his behalf for the employees of the Mohatta Palace Museum. The second announcement was when I said that we intended with architect Tariq Kaisa to start restoring the stonework on some of the gates, which has gone over the years. He pledged immediately a window in stone as an example of the many windows that need to be done on the gates in his family's name. And thirdly, Director Nasreen Askari is launching over the next 2 months a plant scheme for Mohatta, whereby nurseries will be specified and plant varieties will be specified. People can go and choose their plant variety and set up a plant with a standard pot, which can carry the name of a beloved person to become part of the Mohatta Garden in Karachi, all the way to the new developments on the left side. So immediately, Satvik pledged that many members of his family, they're very modest amounts, there'll be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 each. But Satvik pledged that several members of his family would like to join the scheme, so the Mohattas should always remain with us. Now, questions from Satvik. Audience, please. Any questions? Mike, please. Mike. Sorry. Yeah,
Yes,
your voice
yes.
is loud, beautiful and clear. Closer.
I'd like to keep my question short, but I have as much right as Simon, who made a speech before the question. So my question is, I'd like to share some, as Saima shared her memories, personal memories. We used to come to Mohatta in 80s and 90s. It was a derelict building and all over, growth all over. And
It was called Bhoot Bangla.
Booth Bangla, exactly. But as a fashion editor, I did manage to slip in, and they did some fabulous shoots. Now Mohatta is out of our reach. We can't shoot here, but even in fashion, Mohatta played a great role. So now my question: why did your family leave? Were they harassed? Were they attacked? Because a lot of Hindu families are still in Karachi, in Sindh. But an illustrious family of Karachi, were they made to leave? Were they forced to leave? Because when you were talking about, I heard the same stories from my grandmother and my mother about Jharfa news, Bart and Kaleen, about that in Gorakhpur. So why? Did they leave?
That is such a Mohsen question, by the way.
Aloji, firstly, thank you for the kind words and glad you have fond memories of Motta Palace. So, can you hear me okay? Yeah? All right.
Be near it.
Yeah, okay. So, look, why did they leave? I think one, we all must acknowledge that partition was a sad event, affected people from both sides of the border, and it's a lot of families had to leave the places where they grew up. What I've heard from my grandfather on how things came about is that my great grandfather Shivratanji, he met Jinaji at a party one of the evenings, and Jinaji said to him ki Shivratan tumhara abhi yahan kya kaam. So I've heard my great grandfather got the message, and I believe he left the party midway, and he came and he said we need to leave. That said, even when I've spoken to my grandfather, they've always had very fond memories of Karachi, and they wanted to come back. It's always held a special place in the heart. And when I spoke to my grandfather about Karachi and Motta Palace, he had all nice things to say, and he used to always tell me, "I'll take you there one day. We'll go back, and you can." So they've all had pleasant memories. Just acknowledging the fact that partition was a sad event and affected people from both sides, but that doesn't take away anything, the love that they had for the country and the people, and there's always was a special place for them.
Mohsen, I would request that we avoid painful questions today because it's a celebration. I can only tell the Mohattas on behalf of all the audience sitting here that we would welcome a Mohatta family in our midst at any time in the future. Now, any questions? Any further questions? Because
Yes,
the next
sir.
part of the program, the last
I
part.
would like to ask a question.
Sure. Nurjahan, can I have a mic up here? Mike? Mike
I have a mic.
Oh, you have a mic.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you very much for your wonderful and interesting talk. I believe that myself as a professor of a university, I really have love for Mohatta and your family and all that. Although you have answered the question a little bit, my question would be, how about partition? What did your grandfather, great-grandfather, under force? You see, this is what is commonly believed in Sindh. Because such a great man who was here, family and all. So what are your feelings? What did they say to you about the partition? They never came back. Is it a true fact that he was asked to leave? Thank you.
It's really similar to what I covered in the last question on how the events came about. What I do believe is that once even when they left, my grandfather did come back a few times after partition to wind things up. So it's not that they just left in one shot and they couldn't come back or anything. And like as I said, it was painful part in both all our histories on both countries. But over the years, like my grandfather, he always continued that fond memories. That's how we would also like to remember those days with the lifestyle. And he kept talking about the cars and the games and the food and the splendor. And those are the memories that we cherish.
I would like to say, that there was something more dangerous than partition in 1947 in Karachi when you had a house. One of the Dinshaws even destroyed his house after he saved it from requisition after 25 years. So this was a prime property. People were looking to requisition it, and it became the first foreign office. I think that there were equal circumstances by which the pressure on requisitioning the home might have left the Mohattas without a family home. But I don't want to go there. I want to go to the future. We have a legacy from the Mohatta family. We as Karachi citizens are going to enjoy it and live with it. But more than that, we're going to thank the Mohatta family profusely for their care, their meticulous ability to create a structure like this, which captures the mind of every Karachiite. Mohatta Palace is Karachi's most famous landmark after Frere Hall. And I think I would rather go to the Hindu tradition than the colonial one. So let's leave it at that. There are painful memories sometimes, but look at the major step that Satvik Mohatta has taken with Andrea and with the children in coming to Karachi, and let's celebrate that. So any further questions from Satvik? Hopefully not about partition. Yeah, Farishte. Mike, please. Sorry about that.
Satvik, you mentioned that when you were listening to your grandfather and great-grandfather, they spoke to you about what happened in these rooms. Could you elaborate a bit on that? I mean, what were these rooms in their memories? How did they live? I think that would be interesting for the audience.
It was a very princely and lavish lifestyle because we still stay in that same place in Mumbai now. It's a 5-bedroom apartment, and हम लोग वहाँ कम से कम 10-12 जन रहते थे वहाँ पे. And here there were 10 people staying in the whole house. So it was really hard to imagine. I asked him, "Ye kiska kamra tha?" And some of it was obviously to indulge me and say we had massive rooms. The beds were so big, and the things we used to play with, we used to have new car every day. Just हम लोग को dinky car मिलती थी. My grandfather used to like vintage cars, so he kept talking about the cars, and always, whenever he spoke about it, really, really fond memories. Even that chandelier that he carried back, I always wondered why he picked that chandelier, out of everything, and it's such a hard thing to carry. And I was told they wanted something authentic which was made for Mohatta Palace to come around. जैसे बर्तन और सब है वो तो मिल जाते हैं बहुत लोगों के पास है, but the chandelier was made specifically for one of the rooms. And when I was taking a tour yesterday, I was thinking कौन से कमरे में लगा होगा. It was actually just going through my mind where did they had the chandelier. So I was trying to find the place. Is it on the Barsati? Is it in this room? So there's certain things, which have just come to life, and some of the things my grandfather said started resonating a lot more as I came here. So yeah, no, but there's a lot I'm learning about the palace, and really, again, very grateful to how well it's been looked after and maintained.
There are very few old Karachiites here who seem to remember. Satvik made a very controversial remark about a ghost in Mohatta. Well, I don't know if any of you remember as I did in my childhood, although certainly most of you are much younger than me. But I remember traveling in a car to Old Clifton and watching the house near the Afandi house with its windows flying open and glass being smashed and nobody being visible. I remember seeing the same at Brit stores, where a second property had ghosts. And I remember seeing the complaints coming out of the new American embassy because the reflecting pool, which is where the Sufis had been buried, had been offended by construction over it, and that was removed by the Americans. So all cities in South Asia after petition carried ghosts. We have the ghosts of the Hindus and many other people who left. Cities in India have the ghosts of many Muslims and others who left. Goa has its own ghosts. In fact, South Asia is a territory of ghosts. But with that, I'm going to tell you that we respect your time. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a woman who's performing for the second time in her life in the Mohatta Palace Museum. She has been brought here as a tribute to the Mohattas and to Satvik this time. Satvik's native language is Marwari. And the last time the great Mai Dhai came to Mohatta was when Jaswant Singh came here to launch his book on Mr. Jinnah, and Mai Dhai was there. And he was enraptured by the memories her song provoked. Mai Dhai will sing for us, mostly Marwari and one Sindhi. It'll be a 25-minute recital, after which we'll have tea. And before, the moment Mai Dhai finishes, the director of the museum, Nasreen Askari, will come to sum up and thank you for coming. So the songs which came from instinct from Mai Dhai are what you'd expect. She wants to welcome the stranger. She wants to say that it's like a lover coming from afar who plays with your face. Come and touch me, let me feel you, because I'm seeing you again and I feel great joy. The Rasora, and of course, at the end, Mai Dhai will sing a tribute to the great Sindhi singer Mai Bhagi with Khadi Neem Ke Neeche. So, Mai Dhai.
सत्विक माटाना भलीकार कहाँ थी सत्विक माटा भलीकार कहाँ थी भैमरिया दिला नहीं मारा अरे तो बनोरे भुले मारे का जुड़ रे तो अरे युद्ध तो रे भैमरियो मारे का जुड़ रे तो अरे नहीं महाराज दिला नहीं मारा रे नहीं महाराज दिला रे नहीं मारा अरे दिला रे भैमरिया दिला नहीं मारा अरे दिला रे भैमरिया नहीं मारा वो बाइक गाड़ी की जो करीने में के नीचे उनको देखली जातो ना बतारू वाला छाने वाली देखली करीने में के नीचे देखली जातो ना बतारू वाला छाने वाली देखली मोर पपया मीठा मोरे बोल बोल मचावे अरे हो थाना पूजा दे रमवरिया देखली रे जातो ना पताड़ू माना छानी मानी देखली
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice and sounds of the desert are a very hard act to follow. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Thank you all very much for joining us here this evening. But most of all, a very big thank you for Satvik Mohatta, great grandson of Rao Bahadur Shivratan Mohatta, who built this structure and which is now a very important and defining feature of the city. Satvik and his beautiful family, his wife Andrea, and his children, Maya, Avik, and Tara, have all come from the United Kingdom for just 3 days to honor the memory of their forefathers and indeed to pay tribute to our city for enshrining their family legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, all museums, great or small, seek to record the past. This evening is Mohatta Palace Museum's effort to recognize the past, to respect the past, and indeed to honor it. We will continue to do so, and in the future, we also hope that you will stay with us constantly. Thank you again very much, and please join me for tea. Thank you.